Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the DW podcast. Firstly, thanks very much to every single person that tuned into last week's podcast with Motherwell FC player Liam Grimshaw. And thanks to everybody that sent feedback. It was the first episode, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, be honest and tell us. Tell us what was rubbish with it, tell us what was good about it, because the only way we're going to improve is by listening to the listeners and the viewers. So for episode 2, I am joined by a good friend of mine. I don't know if he'd say the same. Gordon Duncan. Gordon, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a wee bit about you.
It's just the longest I've ever seen you be serious for, so I'm struggling here a wee bit, but you've introduced me quite fine there.
Aye.
That sounds alright.
You're the host of Superscoreboard in Clyde, I believe.
I am.
Aye, and
Good to know you listen.
I listen now and again.
Cheers.
I listen when I'm in the car, primarily just to have a wee bit of a laugh at the Old Firm fans phoning up, who I would say probably pretend, the Celtic fans pretend they're Rangers fans, and the Rangers fans pretend they're Celtic fans.
I couldn't possibly comment on that.
No?
Maybe the odd one. I don't know. They usually give it away quite
No,
quickly.
I do really enjoy it. I can't say I tuned in as much before you were on it, not to blow your trumpet at all, but no, I do
pals
tune
are
in.
for.
Aye, no, I enjoy it. It's good listening. It's probably one of the most popular radio shows in Glasgow and the West, eh?
Listen, it's not really for me to kind of blow the trumpet at my own workplace, but obviously it's a bit of an institution. Like, that's why I love doing it. That's why it was a big buzz to be able to take over it. I think everybody who grew up in this area knows the theme tune, recognises it. It's synonymous with football in this area, whether you like it or not. So that's the good thing. I'm not saying everybody has to love it. My goodness, I know that they don't. That's the way we operate in this part of the world. But it's synonymous with football in this part of the world. So.
Can you sing as a theme tune then?
Nah, I was wondering. I thought you might ask me that, and I already was practicing my polite way of declining. So I'll let you do it. You should be able to play it. You're a bit of a musician, you know.
I'm not. I'll use that term loosely, to be honest. But how does it go again? Start us off.
No, I couldn't possibly.
You're not having it.
Nah, it's my ringtone though, and my alarm clock. And
is it?
No, of course it's not.
I wouldn't put it past you. So I give us a wee bit of an insight into how you get into that, because it's what you. Went to school in Motherwell, grew up in Motherwell, stayed down south for a wee bit.
All pretty boring. Like at school, everybody kind of realises what they're good at or what they're into, and mine was kind of like words. Anything to do with words was the sort of thing I enjoyed. So talking about football always seemed like a good idea. I started off doing work experience and stuff quite early on, which is actually pretty beneficial. I always think it's one of those things at school you probably thought brilliant, you know, it's a skive or whatever, but it turned out to be pretty beneficial. So when I left school, I used to go to Motherwell games and do match reports over the phone for a radio station called L107. It doesn't even exist anymore.
Is that Lanarkshire?
Yeah, I think it was Lanarkshire L107. So I would just phone in the show and give half-time and full-time reports from Fir Park. So a bit of a labour of love, obviously, being a big Motherwell fan. That just kind of snowballed and progressed. I then started picking up bits and pieces at.
How did you get into that? Because I suppose you see nowadays there's a lot of people studying journalism. It's almost weird to get that right.
And that's why the experience part's as important as anything. So it was actually a kind of family friend, Graham Barnstable, who Motherwell fans will probably know, was always quite involved in the kind of media side of things there, and he put me in touch with people. I did that. Peter Martin, who was the head of sport at Clyde 1, and people now know as Peter and Ruffy. He was a neighbour, and like that, I got bits and pieces of work experience from him. And I think one day somebody was sick. It was a Saturday morning. My own football had been snowed off or rained off. And he phoned me and said, I need you to go to St Mirren against Dundee United for Super Scoreboard. And I was like 18 or 19. I was shitting myself. Kind of wanted to say no, but kind of realised that you
it was going through your head.
I was shitting myself. Absolutely no doubt. Just that knots in my stomach. Just how am I going to sound? They're going to make an arse of it.
I suppose in advance of this, you'd expect people to find out on Tuesday or Wednesday they're covering St Mirren Dundee United, so they do their prep.
It was just the morning of, just pitched right in. Somebody had to, an engineer had to drive me to the game and set all the equipment up for me and stuff like that, which is, looking back on it, was just a nonsense because it's all dead easy. But at the time, it seemed like a big deal. Anyway, that kind of progressed for there. Started doing games at the weekends. Eventually thought I better get a bit of paper to back it up. Did a postgrad in broadcast journalism. This is believe it or not, this is me doing the short, non-boring version supposedly. So I don't know how I'm succeeding at that, but started picking up work at Clyde, doing news. So I did a lot of mad stuff, that probably wasn't personally what I loved, like court cases and political stuff and murder scenes and all the rest of it. But it's like anything, just a foot in the door, so to speak. Became a sports journalist there, covering the games regularly, and then in the summer of 2017. the previous host of Super Scoreboard moved on, and they asked me if I would do it. So here we
Here
are.
you are, aye.
And here we are, a career high, sitting in here
Aye,
with
this
you.
podcast, aye. Who knows what's next? So you says that you studied journalism. Where did you do that?
Well, like a lot of people, when I was at school again, I was just kind of panicking, like, oh, I don't know what to do at uni, what am I good at, whatever. Did an English and Spanish degree of all things at Glasgow Uni.
How often did you use the Spanish?
Never. I could. I'd be miles off it now if I tried.
You look a bit Spanish, but
No, I think that's maybe why I try to stick in
what you're
working
thinking?
my tan as well at the same time. But I quickly kind of realised I didn't really know what I was doing with that. I always wanted to be a journalist, so I did a postgrad over at UWS, and it was in Hamilton, which was great, being local and whatever else. So, and it was really practical, really hands-on, and did genuinely give me a lot of skills that I kind of use to this day. So,
if you keep in touch with him doing your course, is there anyone else that's done?
Couple. There was only
well,
12 of us on the course, and most went, kind of straight into the media. And I think at one time there was a good 2 or 3 of us in the same newsroom who had all done the same course. So it's got a really good success rate, even from the years before and after. I'm not sure if you'll know. I mean, there was Rebecca Cook as a friend. She was reading the news on sort of Capital and Heart and stuff until very recently. Derek Ferguson now reads the news on BBC Radio Scotland.
Not that Derek Ferguson.
Not that Derek Ferguson, no.
Wow.
So I think a lot of the guys ended up
This
going
guy
into...
went to Spanish football. No, was he?
Funnily enough, he was actually not from... He was from the Spanish side of things before that.
Ah, right, okay.
Not the journalist thing. That was, Lee's a friend of mine, Lee Roden. You might have seen him on Twitter, does La Liga stuff and whatever else. So our paths cross now and then, which is a bit of a small world. But
And then you get into Clyde, and he says you done not football or sports journalism, but it was a bit of everything.
yeah, I mean, it's like anything. You kind of have to just take whatever chance comes your way. News was good in some respects. I mean, the run up to the Commonwealth Games was brilliant. Just seeing what it meant to the city. It's got a lot of really cool stuff there, and stayed over in the Athletes Village before it opened. It was like a sneak preview for the media, and
Who were you bunked up with?
it was some other journalists, no one exciting, unfortunately. And yeah, so stuff like that was great, but then some things just not comfortable with at all. Like, if you get sent out to a murder scene and have to chat the doors of the family or the neighbours, and that was just not me. Actually, I'm in awe of my journalistic colleagues who can do that type of thing, because it's just awkward. It's just so awkward.
It's almost a wee bit of an invasion of privacy as well, isn't it? You wouldn't say that being a journalist, but for the other side, this fence, I would say, I don't really feel comfortable. You says you didn't doing it, but I don't feel comfortable in terms of as soon as someone passes away and there's a bit of
listen, I see both sides of it. At the same time, if you took all of that stuff out of the news, if you took all sort of reaction to any sort of incident out, then I don't really know what you would be left with. Do you know what I mean? So I see the benefit in it. Just doing it's not nice. News was interesting. It was just like different thing every day. I've interviewed David Cameron before, and just really bizarre things that you never.
Where was that?
It was at the Emirates. Must have been something to do with the run up to the Commonwealth Games, and
I'm not after the pig incident.
I'm not. I think it would be before.
So you didn't get the quiz him on that.
It was interesting actually how controlled it is. I'm not wanting to set off some sort of media conspiracy, but his press people were really strict. Like, one question each to the media that were there, and they were trying to ask us to tell them what it was going to be and beforehand, which is a bit strange. That's totally. Kind of trying to do your job with one hand behind your back. So it was around the time of the Peru too. Remember?
Oh,
them?
Aye.
So,
did you interview them? No,
unfortunately not. But so that someone wanted to ask him what the UK government were going to do to bring these girls home. Somebody else had something else in their mind, and it was the day that Scotland played England at Wembley,
right.
And so I just thought, I'm just going to ask him about that. I just gave him some rubbish question about who he was wanting to win, and he just did the classic politician thing about dodging it, and he wished them both very well in their endeavours.
He's a tadger, isn't he? He's an absolute tadger.
So,
is it him, or is it the royal family that claim to support Aston Villa, but they couldn't tell you what stadium they play at or what colours they play in?
I don't know. I think one of the princes not claimed to support. I think they're Aston Villa fans allegedly. So there you go. I wouldn't listen. The Super Scoreboard doesn't quite stretch to that, so I don't know.
So give us an example of another story that must have jumped out when. I suppose you said there you're asking David Cameron about sports, so you probably always had sport in the back of your mind.
Listen, all the memories, all the good memories are about that. The Commonwealth Games was unbelievable. See, looking back on that time. like Usain Bolt's press conference was like nothing I've ever seen. I mean, I was used to doing St Mirren, Partick Thistle, Motherwell, Hamilton Accies. You're like maybe 3 people, 4 people. Usain Bolt's was nuts. It was like hundreds and hundreds of people that crammed into a big room, a kind of lecture theatre type, from every corner of the world. Some journalists were just embarrassing themselves. You know, it was like, rather than asking a question, they were holding hands up saying, I don't even want to ask a question. Can I just get a selfie? Can I come on stage and get a selfie? Some of it was...
Not a name and shame, anything.
It was horrible. I wouldn't know who they were. They were from America or whatever else.
And how was he with that? Was he quite receptive?
He was alright. I mean, you had to put your hand up and hope that the press staff pick you to ask the question, and I managed to catch the eye of them. They asked me, you know, and you go... But this is where you're knowing your audience. So from a Radio Clyde perspective, I know that technique out the blocks or what spikes he's wearing or whatever is just lost. So it had to be something about Glasgow. I just asked him some absolute dross about Glasgow, what he was expecting, and his answer was even worse about. He said something that he was expecting rain and kilts. So, you know, it couldn't have been a more like stereotypical. Totally. But stuff like that was. It was an incredible time. I think for the full city, I think the weather was even great, which is a bit of a cliched memory, but it was brilliant.
Do you do anything to document all these things that you've done? Like, you're dropping some big names in there, former Prime Minister and arguably the biggest athlete of all time.
Absolutely shameful of me. Listen, I think nowadays, because a lot of it's electronic, I've probably got some in emails somewhere. I don't take as much care of it as I should. I don't have my first game that I did or anything like that. I remember my dad used to like record them in CD. I don't think I've got them. And now all the shows they're on podcast if you want to listen back or whatever. So, I probably should though.
Totally.
Pictures are probably somewhere on my Facebook somewhere.
There must be a story that stands out for you that you think, oh my god, that was an absolute nightmare before you went into sports.
There's been a couple, I suppose.
Or things that you've turned up at and you thought, oh my god, what the hell am I doing here?
Well, I remember going to I think it was a murder or some sort of death in Dumbarton. Some scheme beyond Dumbarton, and it was like I explained earlier, just a nightmare. You just don't want to have those conversations. So I went to a girl's door, a woman, and explained here for Radio Clyde, just wondering if you can tell us, you know, what went on or whatever else. And she was fine. Yep, no problem. In you come. So came in, recorded an interview on my iPhone as you would do, sent it back. I'm now sitting in the car, the Clyde 1 car, big branded thing, can't really miss it.
Can't be discreet.
And it's playing out on the news, and that's fine. I'm thinking, right, job done for now. I'll wait and see. Next thing, the police chap the window. So and basically the woman had then complained that she hadn't given her permission for the interview to be used, and it was it was so weird because like she totally had, like, obviously, like.
Like she spoke to you.
Aye, and it was just bizarre, and then the police were asking me really like, you know, did you record yourself asking her for the permission? And I was like, no, like of course I didn't, like, and it was awful. Like, listen, it ended up getting sort of smoothed over, stuff like that. I remember, I better not divulge too much on this. I remember doing what was a tragic story. Let me be very clear about that, about stillbirths or something along those lines, and the part of the story was that the boyfriend or the father of the child had left this woman and this girl, and it was all, you know, it was heartbreaking stuff. Anyway, we run the story in the Monday morning. Next thing, the boyfriend is on the phone to the office saying, I know that's me you're talking about, that's all bullshit, she's this, she's that, you know, she's just doing this to get back at me. And I just thought, wow, I just never expected to be caught in the middle of some sort of domestic like that, which was really, really weird. So
how do you deal with something like that? Or how did the station deal with it?
There'll be various things on, and specifically on that, I think just as like a goodwill gesture, you just take it down, you just stop running it, and that just hopefully smooths things over. Obviously, if you've done something legally wrong or whatever, then it's a bit more serious. We didn't name the guy or anything like that, so it wasn't a hugely serious situation, but just not one I don't want to be a part of again.
I suppose that you're putting yourself in almost dangerous situations when you're going out to. Or potentially dangerous situations. No,
I've not been to Hillman Province or anything like that. You know, a scheming Dumbarton after a murder's not too bad. So I wouldn't pretend to be.
But have you ever felt under threat, or ever felt, you know, this could come back and bite me in the arse here? Or?
Nah, not really. I mean, the football ones are, you know, we used to get sent the old vox pop is the old kind of technique that's, you know, you've seen it before. You turn on the news and it's just they're in a street asking about Brexit or about the budget or about the price of something or about, you know, anything like that. So when you go and ask sometimes about, being in a football environment, sometimes fans are not the most welcoming.
Especially in the west of Scotland, I'd imagine.
Exactly. So I've not really had it too bad. And you can kind of laugh about it. I mean, one of my colleagues recently was over on one of the trips abroad. And I'm not being selective. I can't remember which one it was, so I'm not absolving anyone from blame. I genuinely can't remember which group of fans it was, but it would have been Celtic or Rangers this season in Europe, and he gets spat on just for asking, can we get your thoughts on the games? So,
folks steaming Philly Bevy all day.
It's not great.
Totally.
But saying that, I've seen you in some nicks, so
I don't know what you're talking about. So moving on. Well, before we move on to how you get into sports, so you're in the door at Clyde. Mm-hmm. What's your first impressions of George Bowie?
George is a brilliant guy, by the way. He's a really, really, really nice guy, honestly. And he's as you would expect.
Is he a raver? He puts out the tunes, but does he go for it?
Oh, I mean, as far as I know, it's in his blood, that sort of stuff. I don't think you can be as passionate about it and put that on. And I guess like most of those sort of like DJ, I'm a presenter on the show, but I'm not really like them. They really are. George is like larger than life. He's funny. He genuinely is funny. He's a really nice guy as well, down to earth. Extremely successful at what he does. Like, if you were to,
how long's he been at it?
Oh God, I should know that, shouldn't I?
Must be 20 odd years at least.
It's a long time. I can't remember specifically. I think he's extremely successful at what he does. The GBX is an absolute phenomenon. If you look at, I remember watching one of the presentations about listening figures. Saturday night GBX per sort of head of population or whatever, it's one of the most listened to radio shows like in Europe on a Saturday night, because in terms of the percentage of people who are listening to radio, because obviously it's not a particularly popular time to be listening to radio, but it's a phenomenon, like, genuinely, and he's a great guy.
It's almost a way passage for some youngsters coming through and listening to GBX, and I find it strange because it was when we were teenagers it was on and folk would phone up and go, oh, Georgie boy, he's a shout out, blah blah, but it's not. It's ran the test of time.
It shows you how big it is when Hibs beat Rangers in the Scottish Cup final 2016, and you remember the way that ended. It was quite lively, to say the least. I would honestly say about an hour after full time at the most, right? So you would think they had other things on their mind. John McGinn, who had played for Hibs that day, texted me and said, can you get me a shout out? And can you get the boys a shout out in the GBX? Like, we're on the bus on the way back. So I phoned George and I explained, but then of course, gauging the feeling in Glasgow that night amongst the Rangers fans, I don't think he took them all on as if to say, yes, we're on the bus, go. So, but I'm pretty sure he gave them a mention. Right. But that just shows you, so totally. You've just won the Scottish Cup. It's probably the biggest day of your life. What's your first thought?
Better phone George Bowie.
Get a shout. So that's that kind of sums it up.
He does the breakfast show as well, eh?
Aye, well that's his bread and butter, if you like.
So did he do that before he started DJing? This is an interview about George Bowie now, sorry.
Put me in the spot here. I don't know, the breakfast show's been going for a long, long time as well. They've been a DJ first.
It's almost as if he just sleeps all day. Gets up in the morning, sleeps all day and goes out raving at night.
Aye, no, I don't know, that's exactly what he does. I don't think there's any secret there. Aye. That's pretty much it. And on a Saturday when I used to work, so man, people be saying I'm so boring telling you these stories, but when I first started news, I did 18 Saturday nights in a row in the newsroom till 10 o'clock. That's like the apprenticeship, if you like. But people would always get the number wrong, and they would phone me when they're looking for a shout out, and it was the worst, because it would honestly happen genuinely about 20 times in a shift. Hello, Clyde News. Georgie boy! No, it's Clyde News. Aye, but can I get a shout out? You're just having the same conversation over and over again. So I would always see him on a Saturday night. Where is it tonight? And, Mega Bar, the Palace, whatever.
I don't think there's a nightclub in the west of Scotland that he's not been in.
Exactly. He puts in some shift.
Totally. So when did you go to? You went from sports news to sports reporting?
I think I got one of the sports reporters. The sports reporters, a woman called Sheila McLaren, you may know, who now works at STV. She moved. I think I essentially got her job as a full-time sports reporter. So that was great. It's just back to doing what I loved. So every day you're either at Celtic press conference, Rangers press conference, Motherwell press conference, Scotland. You go abroad with Scotland and with Celtic or Rangers when they go away. So that's always what I wanted to do. And then kind of feeding everything into Superscoreboard at night. So I think it's given me a good insight as well, because I know the guys who do feed the content into the show, I know exactly what they're
putting through.
Aye.
Totally. So you went to Broadway with Scotland. Was there any of the players you made any friendships with, or is there in?
Nah.
Are you kind of far removed? Because I've watched these interviews with
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the likes of even Hugh Keevans. It's on with you and Chick Young or so, and they say that
Aye.
back in the day you used to go bevving with the players, used to get with the managers, but it's almost now you can't get near them.
Nah, it's completely changed, and there's a bit of envy there. I mean, there are players I know from, whether it's because they're local or because I've met them a number of times. There are still guys I can pick up the phone to, like, no doubt about it. But compared to back then, night and day. And that just comes from an environment where the clubs want to control everything. Every club's got, a couple of media officers, and particularly the bigger clubs then with Scotland as well. So it's all very structured, all very set up. They're almost kind of ushered into the room and then ushered out of the room again. There's just not a real time for interaction or stuff like that. I mean, you get the odd one, the trips. They're so. You don't get very much exposure to the players. I mean, I remember being away with Celtic in Molde in Norway, and they get beat. And listen, Celtic fans might remember Chris Commons took a hissy fit. He got subbed off, and he was slaughtering Ronnie Dyler and going mental. So seeing the dynamic in the airport and on the plane is crazy. After that, it's like a morgue. Do you know what I mean? So
nobody's talking to each other.
Nah, no way. So it's seeing that kind of environment close up is interesting. I think, and I'm now out of this for a couple of years now, I don't think you go on the same flight as Celtic or Rangers anymore.
You do Scotland though, eh?
Again, not always. They are this time away in Kazakhstan at the moment. You can cut this bit out if you're not using this podcast for another couple of weeks. But they're in Kazakhstan just now. I think they are on the same flight this time. It just depends. So the trips are great because it's just a different. You're seeing the fans out there kind of partying. You're probably jealous. I've been in a couple of European trips from Motherwell as well. Not as many as I would like. So good fun.
I suppose you touched on it earlier and you said you worked Saturday nights as well, but sounds like it's quite an antisocial job in terms of the hours that you do. And I mean, especially when you're going to the football, you must have been at games during the week, games at the weekends. How do you make time for friends and family? And is that something that would ever cross your mind?
Some people actually work for a living, so you will not get me laying it on thick as if it's a big hassle. I mean, at my sort of peak of when I was doing most of the games as a reporter, it'd be definitely a Saturday, usually once in the midweek, maybe twice in the midweek, anything on a Sunday. And that can mean Ross County on a Wednesday night. It can mean, Inverness on a Sunday lunchtime. So, listen, let's get its challenges. But if you can't enjoy that, you're in the wrong business.
Totally. So what was you must miss going to the football, I suppose?
I do. It's the one thing I miss the most. I mean, it was obviously a great honour, if you like, without sounding too cheesy, to take over the show, and I love it, and I wouldn't swap it. But it's probably the one thing I miss. I just don't get to as many games as I used to. I've sort of mastered midweek games, rushing off and getting there for the second half starting. Get the odd Sunday game if we're not there, because you can't beat it. I've always felt like when I was constant, and because it wasn't just Celtic and Rangers, I was at St Mirren and Motherwell and Partick Thistle, and I just felt like, without even trying, I just felt like I knew everything that was going on. I was speaking to the managers the day before, I would be at the game, I'd be speaking to them afterwards, and I just felt across everything, whereas now I have to make sure that I'm across that so I don't get caught out.
Who's the worst manager you've dealt with?
I feel like Tommy Wright just fucking hates me. It's the weirdest thing. See, the St Johnstone manager, and he's obviously quite a big kind of scary guy, and I always hear some other people in the press, oh no, when you get to know him, he's lovely, and I just think,
what's he done to you?
He just never really just given me much time, really, to be honest. Just a few. I remember he get 2 players taken off injured early doors at a game at Fir Park, and they lost, and when he came in after it, I said something like, and this just summed it up, because listen, everybody knows the press can ask stupid questions, so but I've always been conscious of that, like, especially after the game, when you know a manager's high or low, don't ask anything stupid. Straight as you can for the first question, like, give us your thoughts on the game. That's it, straight as you, because how can you take that the wrong way, sort of thing. And I remember asking him, I said, how disruptive were your early changes? So you get two players subbed off after 20 minutes. How disruptive were your early changes, and how are the guys? And I'm thinking, I've got him here. He can't react angry to this.
That's fine,
It's straight as a die. I'm being nice. I'm asking after the welfare of his players. And he just paused like that, and then just stares up and just goes, that's 2 questions. And I was just like,
no danger.
But I was used to it then, so it wasn't the first time he'd been a bit short. And I just said, I've wasn't cheeky or anything, but I said, I know.
Oh, that's 2 questions.
On you go. And then he kind of had to just go on because there was absolutely no way he was trying to pin anything on me for being out of order, because I couldn't have been more straight. So that's just a really, really small example. The rest are, I think very, very early did people in the media used to always talk about the Walter Smith stare and stuff like that. I mean, I've seen it, but I'd be lying if I said it was ever. Well, just
he's not happy with you.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a presence,
right?
And even Brendan Rodgers are not particularly scary at all. But they've all got an attempt at a stare. They'll give you the stare. There's that wee pause before the answer, and that's usually when you know.
I'll try to suss you out. Or...
you Motherwell fans will know Mark McGee had a bit of a short fuse as well, guys like that. So I've never had it too bad. But just Tommy Wright, man.
Is there MD that you really MD that you really like?
Oh, loads, absolutely loads, because you start liking them for different reasons.
Who's the best folk you've dealt with?
I mean, you go personally. So I came into it at a time when Stuart McCall was the Motherwell manager, and he was a brilliant Motherwell manager, and just what a brilliant guy he is. I know you know that as well. I remember your band doing some stuff with him and stuff. Just a great guy. He was a great talker. So just he ticked like kind of so many boxes. From professionally, you're looking for who's a good talker, who's going to give you a line, so to speak.
Gerard Rodgers.
Yeah, they were both good. There was a time, obviously, when it was Lennon and McCoist. So they were both magnificent. That was my first duo, if you like, when I went into the job.
Where were you when the Shame game happened? Were you covering that?
No, I wasn't actually. No, I can't remember where I was. But my colleague Mark Wilson, he scored the goal that night that won it for Celtic, and it's just funny to remind him of it, because he thought that was him. He made it. He's like, that's
name and
lights.
lights.
The winner in an Old Firm game. Mm-hmm. He's expecting to see his name back page of the paper the next day, and he says he had to turn about 10 pages in to even find a mention of the goal, because it was all about Lennon and McCoist. So they were my first.
Probably the only goal he scored as well, wasn't it?
Aye, I think so. Aye, exactly. It was a miss hit. I'd like to tell him that as well.
Was that a deflection or so?
No, he whacked Papach in the head, and then he scored the rebound. So,
right.
They were the first duo. Let's be under no illusions as well. The profile of Gerrard and Rodgers was just phenomenal. I mean, I was there on the day they were both unveiled. I mean, 12,000 folk turned up to see the manager being appointed. That's
ridiculous, isn't it?
I mean, like him, love him, hate him, whatever. I'm just talking purely on profile. That's unbelievable for up here, and it has been. So you've got profile, which those two have in abundance. You've got lines. Who's a good talker? Who's going to tell you something controversial? Craig Levine's magnificent for it. It just seems to not give a fuck at the moment. He's just totally on one, just slagging everybody. So he's great.
Do you ever see folk like Craig Levine, the media officers must be squirming in the background behind them, or do you think they're just used to it now? They're like, there he goes again.
You get the odd one. I think like players as well, they're obviously, and that goes back to what I was saying about them trying to control everything, panicking if anything goes wrong. And I think they've got a tough job. I think guys like Craig Levine, they're so experienced, they're probably not that bothered. It's maybe for young players where they feel they need to be a bit more protective. It's not uncommon to get a wee phone call maybe and be like, oh, look, see when they said that, look, that's not what they meant, and they didn't mean that, and you think, listen, we'll do what we like, sort of thing. So I think I don't envy the media officers nowadays, that's for sure.
So Tommy Wright's your arch nemesis then? Everything else is alright.
I've only it's not that big a deal. Strachan's famously difficult. Which is
it personally
which is
difficult
fine
for you, or is
not too bad. Again, it's just about trying to ask if you ask the question really in the right way,
he's alright.
I think it's a chess game. Like, you're trying to give him as little wriggle room as possible, and you can tell he's looking for it. Like, he gets in those kind of moods, and he always does this. He kind of looks up the back of the room. He start looking about, and he pulls their face. He's famous for it, like the only an excuse type stuff. I mean, I've seen him like some really awkward ones where he'd just be like shooting people down. I don't think I've had it too bad.
Can be quite nasty at times, though, can't he? No comment. You're playing it safe.
Depends the way you take these things. He just doesn't suffer fools gladly. Just no room for what he feels are stupid questions. There's some managers are just so polite they would just answer anything, which is up to them.
Each to their own. Mm-hmm. So then you moved on to Super Scoreboard, but I suppose before you had Jim Delahunt and then Jeremy Culloch. So they'd been there. Well, Jim Delahunt, he must have been there for a good few years.
No, he didn't do the show that long, but he had been. It was obviously a really experienced guy. It was interesting. So Peter was first, Peter Martin was first, and I'll
course.
obviously forever kind of owe him a lot for giving me a chance. I mean, if I was to think now, then would I phone up a 19-year-old, I might even have been 18, who had no real experience this Saturday? Would I phone them up and say, look, I need you to go and do a game? Probably not. Yet he took that chance. He was brave enough. And
does that not rub off on you and think, he done it for me, I'd do it for?
Yeah, probably should, now that I think about it. Right, okay, I'll be a better person when I leave this room now. But listen, I don't know, he obviously trusted me, had faith in me, so maybe if I felt the same, then aye.
So if there's any 18 or 19-year-olds watching this, if they phone you up and say,
give me
I'm
a
doing
text and
Dundee
see
United,
what we can
Ross
do.
County at the weekend.
So, there was that first. Peter left. Jim came in as a guy who I just used to watch on telly when I was young, Scoreboard and stuff, so I thought that was
He was a big name,
that was amazing. So Jim was just really experienced. I don't remember a great deal. I'm not going to lie. I just don't remember a great deal about working that closely with him in terms of the show, because that was maybe my early days.
If you're in during the day and he's at night or so.
Jerry then came in at a time when the show was probably going through a transition of keeping up now with like social media and everything else that comes with that, because that's totally changed the football landscape in Scotland, like, and everywhere, and it's changed everything, let's be honest. So maybe getting into that a bit later on, but so Jerry was really quite proactive, really hands-on. But listen, it's the absolute cliche book is out in force, but you just got to be yourself. I'm not trying to, I probably subconsciously learn things for these people, but I learned very quickly, I've just got to be myself. If people like it, great. If they don't, then that's fine as well.
Did you know the call was coming?
No, absolutely not, no.
Shocked?
Totally shocked. I was in the car with my wife, and so I don't know.
Did you toasted it a couple of times, eh? You'd stood
I
in.
mean, it's like sub appearances, but I still just a couple of things. I didn't think Jerry would leave, and I didn't think that even if he did, I didn't think they would ask me to do it. So there's two factors that we had to go over. I don't mind spilling the secrets now, but I've got a friend who is now kind of my boss, but he's a good friend as well, and he phoned me and he did give me a heads up, look, it's going to happen tonight, they're going to call you. And I was stunned.
Should you have done that, or was that a bit...
Probably not, no, but it's fine, it's harmless fun, I'm sure. You can edit this out if we're going to get in trouble. And again, it was funny, the exact same feeling as when I got asked to do the first game, exact same. My heart actually sank, which maybe just shows you that I'm not, of course, I am generally a confident person, but maybe not as much as you would think. So
I think that's natural though.
My first reaction, rather than delight, was actually my heart sank. It's the strangest thing, as if, oh shit, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I'm up to that. Like, they're big shoes. I just don't know if I can fill it. Like, I'm not going to say no. Of course, I'm going to say yes.
That shocks me.
Aye.
I would have thought you'd have been buzzing over the moon. Delighted.
Yeah, listen, I was, but I'm talking about that very first split second.
Aye.
It's just like, shit, can I fill those boots? And it happened pretty quickly then. And my boss, Brian, who's another guy that obviously took a big chance, because it'd been very easy for him to go and get a more established name.
So what age were you
at that
this point?
Yeah, well, it's 27 or something like that.
Right.
And Brian's actually sadly no longer with us. He died not too long after that. So for him to have kind of taken that chance, and he was brilliant, just kind of sculpting the early days of what it should have been like. So 27 now, listen, it's not young. It's probably quite young to do a job like that. I think at the time, you know, when there was like a press release and stuff went out about it, which was just weird. I mean, it's not like anyone really cared, I don't think, but
your face was plastered across a few websites.
And they were asked,
the
guy who wrote the press release from a PR company was saying, you know, there were this big debate about whether we mentioned that I was like the youngest host of it ever and all that, and I just thought, I just don't care, you know, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I suppose that I probably am, or I was, but
that shouldn't matter.
No, exactly. So I think we ended up just not caring about that. I think we took that stuff out.
Because you're then opening yourself to criticism, aren't you?
People
say, he's inexperienced, he's this, he's that.
You're supposed to be there because people think you can do the job or whatever, so that's fine.
What was your first show? Do you remember it then? What was the turning point?
Yeah, it's the 31st of July.
To the date.
And just straight back in. So the show always starts fully on the Monday before the league season starts. So the season starts first week of August. It was the 31st of July. And again, weird. So for all I said that my heart sank when I get the call, the first moment of the show was just plain sailing. Just completely, just as soon as I put that mic up and the red light went on, it was just felt like bang, and I was away. And again, I know that shouldn't be misinterpreted. That's not me saying, oh, I was brilliant and I've continued to be brilliant. I'm just talking about the way I felt. It just felt great.
Natural.
I just loved it. And again, a bit of a kind of, and this will, any maybe broadcast journalist or newsreader or commentator and that will tell you that the buzz of kind of being live is brilliant. I'm not sure it ever really goes away.
Do you ever forget your live? Not that you forget your live, but think, oh God, I need to watch what I'm saying here, or I need to...
I mean, you get more comfortable. I think even probably listening back, I was probably a bit more robotic even then, in the first few shows or first few weeks, months even, maybe even I still am more than I would like to be, I don't know. You do get more comfortable, but no, the day you forget you're on air or not, you're in trouble.
What was the social media aspect like? Because I suppose Jerry was quite big in social media before he left. He went to Celtic, and then you came in. So it was.
I was just like, what school did he go to? Really would be the first question.
From both sides.
Listen, and I get that every single day of my life now, way more than I did then. So it was actually good. It was a wee taster of what was to come. So they announced it just towards the end of the season. I was at a game at Aberdeen Rangers. I think it was a Friday night game. And they had just announced it, and so Jerry spoke about it on air, and I was at the game, and we had, and then the Twitter just started going mad. What school did he go to? What team does he support?
And why does it matter?
Well, it still matters 2 years on, so I don't know. You'd have to ask everyone else. And
what's your theory behind it? Because I suppose I don't think it was a bit obvious who Jeremy Culloch supported, wasn't he? It didn't really make it much a secret, and then he went to Celtic, so he was probably, I would say, people welcomed him with open arms, didn't they? So it would... No.
Well, no, that because that makes me laugh. I always hear this, like, I mean, why do the media in this, why don't they just admit who they support, then we all know, and then we can move on? Except nobody in the world will want to move on. It's a complete lie. You're fine, you might get the odd one, but if I am still, everybody knows I'm a Motherwell fan, right? Everybody knows it. It's not a secret, and if it was, it would be the worst kept secret. I've a season ticket holder all my life. I was a ball boy. I've been planes, trains and automobiles, following them to far-flung corners of Europe. Like, everybody knows it, right? But yet still, every day, okay, what team do you really support? Some Motherwell fan, you listen to what you do. So this notion that somehow if people admitted what team they would support, everyone would just accept it and move on is not true, because I think that's living proof of it.
I suppose I'm guilty as well, because Chick Young claims he's a St Mirren fan, didn't he? And I don't know if he is.
As far as I know, he is, but
I don't think he is. I think he's a Rangers.
I've actually played fives with Chick, and I'm trying to think if I've ever seen him in St Mirren get up.
I think he did a Rangers top on that day, did he?
Nah, I don't think so. I think you're causing trouble. But so listen, the idea that someone could come out and say, look, I'm a Celtic fan, and then forever all the Rangers fans would just be like, no, that's fine, and wouldn't hold it against them.
Nonsense.
Not in this city. Maybe some people, but a minority.
What's the worst abuse you've had? Because you do get some badgings, don't you? You must think.
I don't think I get it too bad, honestly.
No.
I think the pundits, because they're the ones who are giving their opinions.
I suppose your role's more to be a mediator.
Aye. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong, that gets misunderstood ridiculously as well at times, but the guys get it way worse than me, there's no doubt about that. I mean, Hugh Keevins has been punched at games and stuff, and I say that with a big smile on my face as if it's funny, and it's not, but I mean, that's the level, you've been punched at Tynecastle before.
Has he really?
He tells a magnificent story about it. I think it was a Celtic game, and it was the main stand at Tynecastle, and somebody whacked him.
What for?
Oh God knows, just for being annoying, probably. Clearly nothing serious, clearly it wasn't deserved. Who could it be? I get the odd thing. I've muted a couple of folk on Twitter, but not many, because I just let it, if the very worst they'll ever accuse me of is being biased to Celtic or Rangers, and see, once you've heard that like 1,000 times, I don't know if these people still think it's got an effect. No offence, if they do, fine, good on them, but
can you switch off?
Oh God, aye, like
you would never let it.
Not stuff like that. There's an old saying that the truth hurts. So see, anything that I think could maybe be true there, that's bound to be a bit more cutting. But see, if the biggest thing they can come up with is that I'm biased towards Celtic, oh my God, no, that's water off a duck's back, because it couldn't be further from the truth. And what sort of makes me kind of laugh as well is, and I'll be very clear on this, I will never at any point say, oh, the show's great and everybody should listen to it, because that's just not the way the world works. What I will strongly defend is the notion that we are somehow deliberately, that's the key word, people would have you believe that we are deliberately biased towards Celtic or Rangers, or against Celtic or Rangers, and that we have an agenda. You see that word all the time. And I just wish people would stop for a second, take a deep breath, and think, right, hold on a minute. As a commercial radio station, they rely purely on as many listeners as possible. We literally have to please as many people as possible, or the show will die, I won't have a job, won't be able to pay my mortgage, etc. So the notion that we would deliberately try and alienate one set of those fans is mental, completely mental. Listen, people may think that we're not successful at being balanced. That's fine. That's a different argument. But when I hear the word agenda, I always think, wow, think about that.
Madness.
We literally need to please as many people as possible. That's what we're there for. Whether we succeed in doing that or not, that's not for me to say. But the idea that it's deliberate is mad.
You mentioned the Specky Chip himself getting punched.
What
Tell
a
us a
man.
wee bit about Hugh Keevans then, because he's almost a bit of an enigma, isn't he?
He's a phenomenon. He's like he's sort of like the pantomime villain, but he's synonymous with the show. I mean, he's irreplaceable right now, probably. I mean, he's just so synonymous with the programme. His voice is instantly recognisable.
You know straight away,
He's got the nasal voice. He tells a good story, but that's how he first got the job.
Right.
He did an interview for the station about something, and the guy said, that guy's got a really unusual voice. And got him on because of that. But listen, he's just been there and seen it. I always kind of sympathise with him. I say, you used to exchange Christmas cards with Sir Alex Ferguson. You have dealt with Steen and Waddle and Billy McNeil and John Gregg, and now you sit in here with me. Like, that must be a real come down from his...
What age is he?
69. He's
He's
70
not going
this
to
year.
retire anytime soon, is
Oh
he?
God, no, he loves it. He absolutely lives for it. I mean, it was summed up the day that Brendan Rodgers left. It was a Tuesday. He's not on the Tuesday, he's on a Monday and a Friday. But we just knew we had to just get him on. I phoned him, like, just come in even for an hour. And he popped up at the start of the show and just made a bit of a joke of it, saying, what are you doing here? And he says, I was born for days like this.
He's not even joking, is he?
No, he loves the drama. He's incredible. And the stories he's got, like I say, he's been punched at Tynecastle. And I remember mid-flow and also at Tynecastle, a woman's handbag fell on his head and like nearly knocked his glasses off, and all the stuff was everywhere. And he's just got so many brilliant stories. I know people love to hate him, which is fine. That's probably what he's kind of there for, and disagree with him. But for me as well, I'm in awe of his phrasing, his turn of phrase sometimes. For me, just as a kind of sports journalist geek, or a kind of I just sit sometimes and think, wow, the way he wraps his words up is incredible. I'll never get to that level, I don't think.
Did you ever think when you first went on, I know in certain workplaces sometimes think, oh, I'm young, this guy's older and experienced, he's quite threatening, or has he always been quite supportive? And...
But he's always been really supportive, but that's also where I would give him great credit, is he gets it. He just completely gets that he has to go with the times as well. So He embraces social media. I mean, you'll see the Specky Tube is an unbelievable example. So many guys of his age take themselves too seriously and wouldn't do that. He'll do anything. He gets it. He gets that he has to adapt, and he says, I'm the first host that wasn't born when he started doing the job.
Right, okay.
But he gets that's fine then, that's the way the dynamic has to work, and that I'm there, he'll say young whippersnapper now and then, and I'll try and test him, and I like to press his buttons, and if he says something I like to say, hold on, I'm not sure about that, you back that up, and that's, he just gets it, that's the way the relationship's meant to be. First time I did a game with him was at St Mirren against Rangers. It was like Christmas Eve or just before, and it was it felt like a big deal, but he's fine.
Still gets 3310 Nokia.
Oh, it's what an absolute beast this thing is. Honestly, it's not a 3310. I kind of say that it is sometimes because it's the only model I can remember.
He's still texting for polyphonic ringtones or something.
It's worse than that. It doesn't have a colour screen. It's a black and white Nokia. If you text him, it doesn't come up your name. It just comes up a number. So he has to just guess from what the content of the message is, who it is, and he's got like loads of people's numbers memorised, like the last 3 digits. He'll say, I know your number ends in blah, and so-and-so, Jerry McCulloch's his end in blah, Derek Johnson, his is... because he's, oh my God, with technology, he is horrific. He's like so bad, aye. But it's funny. Gives us good content.
What other pundits would you say are a laugh around the office?
They're all decent in different ways. I think there's a decent balance there because they're all so different. Probably the biggest kind of surprise for people, I think, would be Alex Ray, just in terms of the public perception compared to the reality of it, because obviously he was a sort of snarling player with disciplinary issues, his own personal issues as well, which he speaks really openly about, which I always really admire. But what a really, really nice guy. Like, and you get a couple levels of nice guy. You get someone who's just pleasant to speak to, but I'm talking about would go that extra mile for you, would, you know, and instantly, like, you know, first time I met him was, we were driving up to Inverness for a game, so you're in at the deep end, you're 6 hours in the car with somebody. If you don't get on with them, you're fucked. But it was magnificent, and then I was just at that stage, I was maybe like fanboying a little bit. You know, who was the best player he played along? Who was the best player he played against? And
did you tell me you interviewed David Cameron?
No, not quite. And he was rhyming off, and he was going, "Oh yeah, big Patrick was a big pussycat," and all that. I'm thinking, Patrick Vieira, you know, and I'm like, oh, you know, and he's like, and Roy, you know, Roy was a mad bastard, and I'm going, fucking Roy Keane.
First name terrible.
And he rolls up his sleeve. He's a very animated guy, Alex. He's very energetic, and he rolls up his sleeve as I'm driving, and like puts his arm right in front of my face. Look at that. You see that? And he's got this wee kind of scar on his arm, and I'm like, yeah. And he's like, David Ginola's teeth. Like, all right.
They says,
I was raging. I was a sub, and I got told I was playing, and I came on. 2 seconds later, right in the fucking, you know, and then I've sent off again. Fined 2 weeks' wages, and then he quickly goes into this really serious story about that's how he turned himself around, and he realised that he had a bit of an issue then and stuff. But that's what he's like. His stories are brilliant. And do you remember Scotland played Gibraltar? But it was in Faro in Portugal like that. I said, oh, I'm meant to be going over to cover the game. I've got a place in Portugal. Come and stay. Listen, you can go and stay there. I'll tell you what, I'll get flights over. I'll stay with you. That's the type of guy.
Did you do it?
Aye. Yeah.
Aye. Man of his word.
So I had a couple of nights in Alex's Portuguese villa. Bizarre.
How was that?
I could.
You're not a drinker, but I can't imagine. Is he no?
Well,
for
very different reasons, I would imagine. But aye. So it was aye.
We only hear the phone calls that come through, but there must be many that don't come through. How do you go about cutting them off, and what's the worst you've heard? Well,
bear in mind that I don't hear the ones that don't get through either, because one producer takes the call. So one guy takes every phone call, and then we phone back the guys that we want to get on. I mean, there's no really any other way of doing it. I mean, you know, there's no grand conspiracy there. It's about the only way you can really do it. And that's why if we're talking misconceptions of the show, right up there is my favourite. I always get this on Twitter, you know, like, oh aye, there they go. They've somehow managed to find another happy Celtic, you know, whatever. They've somehow managed to find somebody who's on to criticise. Like, what are the chances? I suspect I've got them lined up. If you could see it in action, it's really quite a small time operation. One guy handles like however many calls, and he's got me giving him hand signals through the window saying, hurry up, get somebody on the phone. So it's just, there's a bit of luck involved. Obviously, if there's somebody that sounds like they're going to come on and cause us real hassle, then we just can't do it legally.
How come some slip through the net?
Well, listen, it's not that they slip.
Very rarely, though, isn't
slip through the net. I mean, it's just we don't want to.
Censor it too much.
Censor it. I mean, it's just in terms of if somebody phones on and says, "Look, here's what I'm going to say," and that point is something that could get you in legal trouble, then they're not going to get put through. Or if they sound really incoherent or whatever, I mean, it wouldn't be for me to say that some people might phone up having been out enjoying themselves. So, but in terms of the ones that do get through. So that it's not really a secret. I think people probably appreciate the show operates on a slight delay. It's about 8 seconds, during which time we need to establish have they swore and have they said anything that would get us in legal trouble. And if they do, there is a dump button and it cuts them off, and hopefully you will never hear it.
Right.
So,
is there any that stick in your mind that you think, oh, I wish that hadn't get through?
I always thought when I took the job I'd very, very rarely use it. I don't use it that often, but still more than I thought. So just the odd swearies are easy, because it's like if somebody says fuck, then you hit the button and you get rid of it. That's fine.
And does it cut it in the middle of the call?
Yeah, it just cuts it so that you, like I say, you're listening at home, you're 8 seconds behind.
Right.
As soon as I press that button, it brings you straight up to the present moment.
Right,
so anything that's happened in the last 8 seconds disappears. I've been the first time it happens. In fact, still when it happens, your heart's like beating because you're like, oh, make sure I can cut it off. But there's been loads. I mean, the guy phoned in and he was. And this just sums up Glasgow because of the way this word was used. He didn't even mean it in the insulting way. And he says, I'm a Rangers fan. And he says, you know, hurts me to say it, but do you know what we need? We need a Scott Brown. We need a Scott Brown in there. He says, I'm not saying I like the cunt, but I just, whoa, my heart's like, so I'm like, right, turn him off. And you know, it was the Glasgow use of the word. It was the alright use of the word, if that makes sense. And there is a suggestion that it actually got left in the podcast that somebody forgot to edit it out the podcast. Eventually it got taken out, not after until a few people had heard it. I think the first one I got that really set me off, because obviously it is live, you don't want to laugh too much, but I remember this woman came on and we had just been having a bit of fun, bit of banter or whatever before we took the call. So we went into the call sort of kind of laughing like, oh, you know, like, who's next up? And Jeanette or whatever her name was, Jeanette, and she just goes, your patter's pure shite. And honestly, like
to you?
Well, it was like the three of us. I don't know.
Right.
Probably was me, but I don't know who specifically.
Right.
Myself, I think Gordon Dale, Mark Wilson. And we just lost it completely. So no one at home hears that because I've cut it off. But what they do hear then
is
us absolutely not on ourselves.
Right.
And I couldn't really get that back. You know, I had the tears running down my face, and that was great. And there's been all sorts. I mean, you get taxi drivers all the time.
It seems like that's a thing in Glasgow.
Who'll go, hold on a minute, lads, I've just got a fare. Where is it you're going, pal? Aye, no bother, right. And then sorry, panel, as I was saying, that Alfredo Morelos, and it's mad.
There's no taxi driver in Glasgow that doesn't listen to Super Scoreboard. They're keeping you in a job, so don't slate them.
Oh no, absolutely, wouldn't have it any other way.
Aye, totally. Do you ever get discounts on taxis or anything like that? Have you ever?
No.
There must be some perks of the job. I suppose it's different for you
because I
because
spend my life driving people like you around, so you know I don't get taxis very
that's
often.
true,
So.
aye. But I suppose it's a hard one being on the radio because your voice is probably so many people will recognise your voice, but how many folk could recognise your face? Do you get it when you go out on a night out, or is there anything folk come up to you?
Not really. I'm not arrogant enough to think I'm that well known. Do you know what I mean? I think maybe what has boosted it a little bit is because of social media now. So there would have been a time where you never knew what people on the radio looked like at all. Yep. Whereas now you only have to go on the Twitter feeds, the website, the podcast.
Your face is there.
Face is all over it. Listen, the odd time, I don't know, like
the autograph. So
well, it's a selfie generation. If you're in a crowd of listen, never walking down the street or anything like that. Really, you get the odd person who shout, "Oh, Super Scoreboard!" And I don't know if you're at like a sportsman's dinner or a football event or there's like like-minded people who are likely to know. You get the odd kind of get a selfie. God knows why you would want that, but it's happened a couple of times. But
what do you do away from Super Scoreboard then? You've been doing a bit with Scotland as well, haven't you?
Work-wise, I'm freelance. I'm self-employed. If anybody wants to hire me, this is a
free plug.
Get in touch. I'm available because it's not the only thing I do. Granted, it takes up most of my time. So I do some things for the Scottish FA, just their online channels, podcasts. That's pretty good as well. It's just different. So you change your pace. It's a bit in depth. You know, they do a kind of series of interviews with sort of legends or high prof. So I've had the chance to sit down with the previous manager, who's Gordon Duncan, now Alex McLeish, just kind of in-depth stuff, and James McFadden, who was like my absolute hero growing up, as you know, and now I kind of know him and have done work with him, so it's a bit weird.
What's it like meeting your hero?
No? Do you know what? He lives up to it, to be fair. He's a really good guy. He's not a disappointment. He's not at all. I just need to let it go a bit now because it's a bit weird.
Is there anybody that you've met and you thought they were your hero or you really admired and you thought,
I mean, Kenny Dalglish was just difficult. I thought I interviewed him before, and it wasn't that I disliked him or I thought, can never meet your heroes. It's just, I was
different generation, maybe.
He's just probably thinking, who is this 23-year-old? Like, you know what I mean? I don't care really, and it just didn't seem to. He didn't blow me away the way I wanted him to. Basically, that was it. It's maybe me that had the expectations too high. That was a disappointment, but whether it was my fault or his, who knows?
Andy Robertson's
he's good. He's good.
Sticks out.
He's
he must be a good guy.
We did a podcast with him for the Scottish FA. He's just great. Because go back to what I said about managers. A couple of things when I look at a player, are they a good player? First of all, but can they talk? Because that's obviously what we're interested in. And he can talk, and he's really good. Never seems to forget. Because his story's been unbelievable. Everybody knows it. You definitely don't need me to tell you that 5 years ago he played for Queen's Park. Everybody, but he seems like a really good guy. Now he's proper, like, elite, you know.
What would you say to folk that are maybe watching this and want to be journalists or come through the ranks and do something similar? Because I suppose that you say that you worked hard when you were younger, you got the experience, but you get the qualifications as well. But I suppose it's trying to make connections, isn't it? To a certain degree as well.
It's a bit like everything. I would say if money is your driving factor, don't do it. Forget about it. Unless you're going to hit the very, very top, then I can't imagine it's that's not a driving factor for people.
I thought you got a new car the other week. No,
I
thought you got a new car the other week.
But still,
I've seen your car, mate.
That's because I'm saving other ways.
Yeah, that's fair.
Listen, I think that but that's a genuine eye opener for people. Like when you go in first of all, oh my god, I think you would get a genuine shock. You would get a real shock as to like, oh, hold on a minute, you're on TV or you're on the radio. You must be, wow, it's not like that.
Totally.
But from my experience, most of the people do it because they love it. I love Scottish football, and I'm not being paid to say that. If I'm saying Super Scoreboard, you could accuse me of being paid to say it. I just love it.
That agenda?
Aye. I'm passionate about it, so that doesn't seem like work.
Aye.
That doesn't seem like work. So if you truly love something and then you want it, then I would say absolutely go for it. Qualifications, whatever, fine, but I don't think anything's really ever going to compete with experience and meeting people.
Would it annoy you? This would annoy me to a certain extent. There's people like yourself that went through college, university, etc., studied to do it, can't get a job, and they're getting newspapers, for example. I've got John Hartson writing a column.
No.
John Hartson's maybe a bad example, but you know where I'm coming from. They've got ex-football players, Barry Ferguson, John Hartson, writing columns in newspapers. Now, I'm not going to judge them and say that they're not equipped to write it, but there's people that have been studying that for years and years.
Yeah, but they're different roles. It's a columnist is there to give an opinion. I mean, the journalist can then get the story, get the interview, and work alongside that. No, there's definitely place for both. I mean, you've just mentioned them because you're aware that they write columns. What does that tell you? Do you know what I mean? And listen, let's not be naive about it. People want to sell newspapers and get listeners or viewers or whatever it may be. No, I would defend that. I mean,
I suppose you've got the other.
I'm not saying they're all brilliant. I'm not saying I like everyone's column, but
it must be frustrating though for
no. But like I say, I think you're confusing two roles there for me. I mean, if you're a columnist, you're maybe wanting to be able to give a bit of an insight that other people can't give. That's the way I see it. I think the two should be able to go.
Experience in the field.
I think they should be able to go hand in hand. I think they should both be able to do it. I mean, similarly, now seeing some footballers are maybe want to turn their hand to presenting or being the kind of journalist type, carrying out the interview. I think that's dangerous. I think they need to be really good at it. I think there are
because you don't want them taking your job.
Well, listen,
they can write in the papers, but they're not coming on Superscoreboard.
No, listen. See if people are good at their job, I think that's fine. But I just think there probably will be some examples of guys who aren't that good at it and are there. So that's different. I mean, look at Gary Lineker's the ultimate. He's brilliant. Flawless. People forget. You just forget he was a footballer.
Yep.
He's absolutely brilliant. He's as slick as they come. Absolutely magnificent. So you couldn't slide guys like that. But so as long as they're doing it for the right reasons.
What's the future plans for you then?
I don't know. I'm going to be
at Clyde for a long time.
I'm sort of committed there, if you like. They're committed to me. I'm committed to them for the next 2 years.
Good.
I don't think that's really public knowledge. There you go. You got yourself the world's worst exclusive on your podcast.
Send a press release after this.
So for the next 2 seasons, for sure, I've just arranged that.
Would you ever go and work for down south Premiership? You said you love Scottish football. I suppose that's your.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm not sure, honestly, because people ask me that a lot. And I'd like to give TV a crack at some point. I guess the presenting skills, the skills of the job would be the same, but then you'd be going into an environment where I'll be honest, like Scottish football is my speciality. Is a bit of a weird word to use. I'm sure people would disagree, but. So whether it would be transferable or not, I wouldn't close the door on anything.
Good. Ideal. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Much appreciated. Thanks very much to everybody that listened to episode 2. You can check us out on Facebook at the DW Podcast, on Twitter at the DW Podcast 1, and on SoundCloud, iTunes and all the usual places as well. So thanks very much, and we'll see you again soon.